Thanks everybody for joining in to Accountant Showcase. And today we're going to be discussing with Michael Eckstein. Very excited to have him on. It was also voted top 40 honoree for under 40 from CPA Practice Advisor. And today he's going to talk a little bit about his journey as a CPA. So Michael, thank you for taking time out and meeting with us today. So tell a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, no problem. So my journey into accounting, doing math for a living, right?
Right.
Um, I went to college for accounting. My dad was an accountant before me. I guess technically he's still an accountant. He still practices. And I did the thing everyone kind of does. Well, maybe not everyone, but I was like, he's an accountant. I'll be an accountant. How bad could that be? And then I came out here and I'm like, wow, I got to do math for the rest of my life. This sucks. And that was kind of how I got into accounting. I mean, is there anything you want to know about my journey in accounting, or should I just give you the whole play-by-play?
No, that's good to know. From like, I wanted to be that whole fireman and then police officer, and now I'm in the accounting space providing stuff, right? So
Mhm,
you want to do it because your father was doing it, but
mhm.
now you've been in the industry for some time doing so much. So start it from the beginning of and then your journey through what you're doing now and kind of how it all progressed.
Okay, yeah. So I came out of college. I started working for my dad's solo practice. So I guess I went from one employee to two employees, right? And I do, to a certain extent, still help him out and do all of the absolute drudgery that you kind of outsource when you trick your child into becoming an accountant, right? So all the boring things you wish you could pay someone else to. That's what I do for him in his accounting practice. But as time kind of went on, I guess I kind of made my own inroads in the community, my own friends, things like that, met other accountants and got involved. Right. So over the years, I slowly, became treasurer of a local nonprofit. And now, I don't know. I have a bad habit of getting myself more involved in more math things now that I say all this out loud. It sounds really great on paper, but like I'm doing math for free for this nonprofit now. And it's like I really played myself. Right. But it's part of the journey. It's part of my career, I guess. It's just like a local nonprofit that, helps the local business owners, advocates for them, to the local town, to the local jurisdictions and stuff like that. And I help do treasurer type things, keep the books, do the tax returns, send out purchase orders, that kind of thing, keep that all in line. That's kind of been on the side as I've built up my own accounting practice, right? And I guess I have your garden variety accounting practice right now, where it's personal tax returns, business tax returns, a little bit of accounting and consulting on the side, right? Uh, in like the last year or two, I've been making more of an effort to, I guess, talk about accounting, talk about consulting, building a better business with business owners, both on LinkedIn and through my newsletter, right? Hopefully a podcast soon. And that is kind of, I guess, part of the reason CPA Practice Advisor noticed me for the 40 under 40, right? Because like for years I was doing the same thing all the accountants do, where we just kind of do math in the shadows, and like that's like our thing, right? And I think if I kept going that route, they would never noticed. But recently it's been a lot of talking about accounting, not just doing it. Yeah.
That's really important nowadays as things have changed for the good, but also it was just a rapid change and everyone had
Mm.
to adapt, or it was just a smack in the face. And coping with technology, changing regulations. What are your thoughts on the accounting profession now to where it was 5 years ago and where it could be in the next 5 years?
I think we're in a weird place right now, especially when it comes to kind of tax accounting and compliance heavy accounting. When my dad started in the 80s, between the 80s and the last few years, there was a handful of major tax changes. And then all of a sudden, the last five, it feels like a new one's rolling out every 6 months, every year. Either a major tax change or like a minor thing or some state level, last minute memo. And hopefully that stops. but I kind of feel like we're entering a new era of constantly, quickly updating compliance requirements. And that's something we're going to have to kind of get used to, where just, you know, new things are always coming up. I think, for example, there was a Supreme Court Wayfair decision. We still have a lot to see with what the states will do there. We've still got probably years worth of updates with that. Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, whatever is happening in Congress right now, we'll be seeing a lot of compliance changes for years to come, right? And hopefully the changes in software will help us there. A lot of software, there's a lot more information available nowadays than there was 10, 20 years ago. The resources are much, much better. We have, it's much easier to research things. It's, the research materials are updated much faster. So thankfully there's that as well. But I think, compliance wise, we're going to be in a new era of like rapidly evolving compliance. And at least the way I see it, accountants will kind of niche down in the way lawyers did, where you used to have the general practitioner. Now everyone's kind of got their, lane. And as compliance gets more complex and keeps evolving, we will wind up doing that to stay relevant, and just to stay on top of it, because it's kind of impossible to stay on top of everything the way we used to. When there's a change every 10 years, you can do that. It's a change every 6 months to a year. That's a lot of reading, and I didn't get into this to read,
You math. Yeah, no.
Exactly.
It's and the community itself needs ideas, needs thoughts, needs better ways of kind of running their firm and how to best help their clients, and what's worked for 30, 40, 50 years, right? Change is constant. It's just a matter of when, not if. And so but it's all happening now. And so you have to be quick on your feet and adapt. And because even during the pandemic, deemed essential worker, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Importance of what you guys do on a day-to-day basis. Have you, with technology, right? Virtual, remote, cloud, all that jazz. Now, have you adopted technology? I mean, you could love it or hate it, but you have to embrace it. But how has that been integrated within your firm?
I've tried to adopt as much as possible. I like it, and I know there's a lot of accountants who are kind of against the adopting of the technology, but I think it's here to stay. And I think if we take the time to learn it, it's huge for us. Modern technology is doing things that we could only dream of, 20, 30 years ago, I guess before my time almost, right? So like, for example, there are so many cash flow forecasting softwares out right now. Like you can pick from like 5+ depending on how complex you want it, how many, KPIs you want, that sort of thing. 20, 30 years ago, that was a sophisticated spreadsheet that was proprietary, that, you didn't let outside your firm. There was a lot of manual, I guess, kind of BS that had to happen. But now we have software that does that for us, right? And in every aspect of the accounting firm, there's now software that is automating things that either were incredibly difficult or an absolute pain in the butts. And, it sucks to change our processes and kind of learn new softwares. But when you really take a step back and look at it and kind of put aside our ego and our kind of, well, it's always been done that way mentalities, it's good for us. It's convenient. Like I was looking at my secure portal software. If I didn't have the secure portal software, I would have to mail every tax return back to them because I don't prepare in front of clients. I know some accountants do. I don't. That's just how my thing is. I'd have to mail every single one back. Do you know how expensive priority mail is now? It's like $8. It's $8 a return. So if I go by every single client I'd have to mail back times $8 each, the portal pays for itself, ignoring all the security and, the other ease of use things that come along with it, just in the money I saved in mailing stuff back. Right. And I think when we look at all the softwares, they're all kind of worth it because they save money in one way, they save time in another. They're here to stay and they're good.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And like I mentioned, you can love it, you can hate it, but you have to go with an open mind and embrace it because it will help. It definitely will help.
Hmm.
And but do your due diligence, do your research, compare others. You said there's
Definitely.
many cash flow, and so the resources have been there, and now there are more options than ever. You're absolutely right. And with ongoing staffing shortages, not just in this industry but in general, but it
Mm.
has hit the accounting world pretty hard. Um, Clients are now in the virtual remote environment thinking outside the box, right? I could hire outside my city, I could hire outside my
Hmm.
state. Heck, I could hire it outside my country. And
Yeah.
so offshoring has really gained some ground as well. And so share your thoughts on offshoring. Where do you think it could be in the future?
I think all sorts of outsourcing, including offshoring, will have their place, right? I think it isn't a kind of magic pill, and some accountants do kind of view it like that. And some of the complaints I've heard of outsourcing and offshoring is it was treated like a magic pill, and then it just kind of wasn't, and things fell apart. You know, when you're offshoring, outsourcing, whatever, you still have to have your processes in place, your standard operating procedures. Those don't just like go away, right? If you have that in place and everything's dialed in, it gives you the potential to take on a greater volume of work, right? But you still got to have the core kind of running and working and things in place. So I think if it's kind of, if I mean, let's be honest, a lot of small firms are a little bit of a hot mess. If your firm is a bit of a hot mess, you got to strain that out before you look at outsourcing and offshoring, right? Because it's just adding more complexity in. Uh, if things are kind of dialed in and you need the kind of skilled labor to get work done and to fulfill commitments to clients, then it is a solution. And it could be a very good solution depending on how your firm is structured, right? And as we go more virtual, I think we will see more outsourcing in general. And it could be offshoring too. Just now it's virtual. We can get accountants anywhere. And there's plenty of good accountants, you know, outside the US too, especially depending what kind you want. Certain, rules are standardized. It's not like they're doing another kind of math over there, right?
Yeah, no, you're spot on. Specifically with the internal processes. Yeah,
Mm,
it's like you ask a client, "Have you ever worked with a remote worker?" And they say no. It's like, all right, well, this is remote. It's pretty far, so we got to get started somewhere. And that's the key thing. And yeah, folks think it's a turnkey solution. You interview, you
yeah.
hire, everything falls into place, everything falls apart. So
Hmm.
if everything is in order on the side, absolutely explore it, take a look, see
Hmm.
what's out there, see if it could work.
Yeah.
And but before we wrap up, would you like to no, first off, what does Michael like to do when he's not doing math? What do you like to do for fun?
Ooh, recently, it feels like we haven't been allowed to do anything. So, like, exercise is
There
that's a
you
lame answer, but yeah, go for a run or something. Um, I don't know if you can count it fun, but writing my newsletter in whatever time I have between client work, right? Because I send
go.
my weekly newsletter and someone's got to write it.
Yep.
I guess I could outsource that, but I don't. Those are my thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you definitely have to step away. You can't do math
Yeah.
24/7. Take a step
Oh man.
away and do the same thing, big on fitness. Just get out of my home office. You just got to run around and then get back right to it. So absolutely. And now before we wrap up, any other final thoughts you'd like to share? Appreciate your insight today, but any final thoughts?
On accounting in general, on the future of accounting.
Mhm.
Um, I guess this is somewhat related, maybe somewhat unrelated. Recently, there's been a lot of talk that maybe accounting might go away because of the software and the automation and stuff like that. You know, Personally, I don't think it will. I think there'll always be a kind of need for people.
Yeah.
I think it'll just change. And a lot of us have got to get over our holding on to the old way of accounting. Because we
Yeah.
really want to look back at the true old way of accounting from 30, 40 years ago, it sucked. I've done some of it that way, the old way by hand, the old school write ups, the after the fact payroll, tax returns, yeah, that's accounting too, but it sucks. And maybe the new age of accounting, where a lot of it is automated, isn't so bad. Maybe we won't have to do the drudgery all day. That's cool too.
I agree. Yeah, you have to adapt. You have to be creative. I'm noticing and speaking with clients that it's more about why should a candidate interviewing for a job, why should I work for your firm? You got to make your firm look attractive. You got to make someone want to work and be there on a day-to-day basis. So things are changing for sure, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, hey, really appreciate your time providing some insight from someone that's doing this on a day-to-day basis. And for everyone else, thank you for listening in to Accountant Showcase. We'll be back soon with another special guest. So, and we're done. All right, cool. That was it.
Perfect. Awesome.
And so my team will create magic out of this. We'll send you the
Mhm.
link, blast it out, and yeah, that's it. But thanks for
Cool.
doing it, really. All right.
No problem.
All right, man. Good luck. Take care. Bye.
Yeah, have a good evening.